Hello, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about the things that I loved in February, specifically books and skincare products. Overall, it's been a great reading month for me. I have started getting back into my groove, and most of the books that I've read this month are pretty short because I didn't want to overwhelm myself with too many pages and freak myself out and fall back off again. So let's get started. First, we have Five Tuesdays in Winter. This is a short story collection. There are 10 stories in total. I specifically enjoyed the first few stories. I thought the prose was beautiful with touching stories and messages. Some stories were harder to read, whether that's for the message that it was trying to convey or the content is a little too heavy. Overall, longing, desire, shattered illusions, the need to connect, to overcome past trauma are pretty prevalent in these short stories. And if you like short story collections or if you want to venture into that genre, I really recommend this book. It's probably my favorite short story collection. Granted, I haven't read much, and the things that I have read I did not enjoy, but this one was a warm welcome for me to possibly read more short story collections. Next up, I read A Woman's Story by Annie Ernaux. This is a memoir about the author's mother who passed away after suffering from Alzheimer's disease. But the author claimed to have written this story as objective as possible, painting her mother to be an individual who has lived a life before she was even born and continued to be one after she was born. I thought it was beautiful but painful reading about something that is inevitable for all of us to one day experience that kind of loss. But yes, I would recommend it. Is the lighting too dark? The third book I read is Graveyard Shift by Emil Rio. This is a novella about four unlikely people who met because they always go to the same place, which is a cemetery, to have a smoke break around midnight. And one day, when they went to the cemetery, they discovered a freshly dug grave that wasn't there the previous night. So now they're questioning, what is the grave for? Who dug it? Is it for a human corpse? The story takes place only a few hours from midnight when they discovered the grave to the early hours of the morning, but I thought the character dynamics are really fleshed out. The story behind the grave is really interesting and intriguing. Yeah, it was a good time. I recommend it. Next up, we have Sula by Toni Morrison. The title is based on one of the characters in the book, but the story doesn't just exclusively follow that character. It's about the inhabitants of this town called the Bottom in the US, and the story takes place from early to mid 1900s. It tells the story of being African American in the US during that time and the different dynamics between the characters, that tells the story of mother-daughter relationships, female friendships, and generational trauma. The storytelling feels like it's coming from everywhere all at once, told from different perspectives, which I found very interesting and fascinating, but also sometimes a little bit overwhelming just because I get confused with the timeline and who is speaking. And Sula is possibly one of the most complex female characters that I've read in a while. It was a treat being in her head, but also at the same time, I was just like, girl, what are you doing? Next up, I picked up Ordinary Human Failings by Megan Nolan. I picked up this book because I thought it was a murder mystery thriller type of thing. It's not. The book is more character driven than I was expecting. If you're looking for like a spooky murder mystery, you're not gonna get that. So this book is about a girl who was found dead, and she comes from a very good, well-known, nice family in their neighborhood, and everyone in the neighborhood thinks that she died because of another girl who also lives in the same apartment building, and that little girl comes from a bad, troublesome family. And I knew that that was going to be misleading, but I was just not expecting this to be a full-on like character study on the suspect and her family. We just get a deeper dive into who each of the family member is and what happened to them in the past to make them become such a hot mess. And if you are into that, then this book is for you. The next book that I read is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This book has been around for a very long time. I really struggled with the fact that this was written in the 80s when it could have been written yesterday. It's about a new world, a new regime in the US, Gilead it's called, after the Constitution and the Congress collapsed. In this new world, women are stripped of their rights, their freedom, and the luckier ones who are deemed healthy are assigned to a house with a commander and his wife, with the sole purpose to breed, to reproduce healthy babies. It's dystopian, but it gives off this very real possibility that it could happen in our reality right now within the next few decades, it feels like. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's because our narrator is, she remembers a time of being in a modern society, in a contemporary setting, and to go from that to this new regime, it's just scary how I could really see it happening in today's world. I like the storytelling. I like how it's sometimes inconsistent because our narrator wishes to appear very level-headed, but we sometimes get her intrusive thoughts of just wanting to deviate from this new norm, and her admittance that she is like aware that she is omitting some facts and that she has to go back and kind of retell the story to make sure that whoever is reading this or listening to this in the future will be able to unearth what happened. Yeah, I would recommend this one. The topic is very pertinent to today's world. The last book that I read, just to kind of close February up, is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I know going from The Handmaid's Tale to Deep End is a bit of a whiplash, but I just needed something kind of light. And um is this book light? Deep End. So Deep End is about a diver and a swimmer in Stanford University. They discover something interesting about each other and they kind of went off exploring that. I think that's all I can say. There's been a lot of discourse about this book online about just how, is it spicy enough? Is it not spicy enough? It's Ali Hazelwood, guys. And also, nobody told me Ali Hazelwood is Italian. But anyways, I enjoyed it not as much as not Love Hypothetically, Love Theoretically, and Not in Love. I really enjoyed those two books. Do not talk to me about I would like to burn that from my memory. Yeah, an enjoyable book, but do read the trigger warnings. And that is all for the book section. Let's now move on to some skincare products that I have finished in February and I've really enjoyed it. First off, we have the sunscreen by Haru Haru Wonder, and you can tell that I really enjoyed this one. Guys, I will never look for a different sunscreen. The second I used this, I was like, this is it for me. I don't even want to look at other sunscreens. I got this, and after trying out for a week, I went back for 4 more tubes. So I'm well stocked. Very nice, very light. I do have oily skin and I live in a very humid weather, and this is just perfect. Next up, we have the iUnique Centella Calming Gel Cream. This is very lightweight, and I find that this works really well with other products. It just balances the sebum production on my face, and I love it. Last but not least, this is the Cicaplast Spray by La Roche-Posay. Guys, this is an absolute wonder for sensitive skin. If you are dealing with some redness, some bumps on your face, just spritz this on day and night as your first step, and it'll be gone in a few days. I've used this consistently for months now, and the bumps and my fungal acne is gone, and it's all thanks to this. Adore this stuff. Game changing. So that is all for this month's wrap up, and yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!